What's up, everybody? And thank you for tuning in for another Indy Investor Pod, episode 26 here. Brett and Brian just coming at you today. And we just thought it was important to do some episodes like this every now and then where basically we just kind of do an overview of everything that's going on in Indianapolis, what it means for the investing world. I think it's important to touch base like that. So that's what our attempt is going to be in this episode right here, just to kind of update you on what's going on in Indy and make sure that you're okay with what you're doing for investing. So with that, let's get on with the show. All right, and it's Brett and Brian back with another Indy Investor Pod, and we're just doing an overview of what's going on in Indianapolis, what's going on with investing, what's going on with just kind of the status of everything here in Indianapolis right now. Brett, how we doing today, man? So you're rocking it from your car. So
That's right, man. Yeah, I'm doing amazing. I'm rocking from my car today. Summer has officially started, and the kids were a little rowdy in the house, so I'm just going to rock it out here.
There we go. No, it's very cool. So yeah, we thought it would just be important to, like I said, just kind of touch base on everything that's going on here in Indianapolis right now. And we're recording this on Thursday, and I know this isn't going to air until Monday, but throughout this week, it's been a crazy week of just everything that's been going on with just some of the riots and just kind of the looting and things like that. And we're not going to get political on here. We're not going to kind of talk about all that stuff. It's what we're seeing in Indianapolis. It seems like a lot of the hostility is kind of cooled off a little bit, and there's a lot of peaceful protests going on. It's high tension and everything like that. But as far as kind of what's going on in the investment world and what that means for everything like that, I think it all just comes down to, and it's been the conversation between us and a lot of investors throughout the city is just treat everybody like you want to be treated. It goes back to that golden rule kind of thing. And, and that's really what we're seeing. And we're talking with other investors that are going through, some things with their tenants or everything like that, but just making sure that everybody's getting taken care of. Everybody feels comfortable with what's going on. I think that's the big key. A week, I think it was actually 2 weeks ago now, we actually had one of our acquisition managers pulled over in a nice neighborhood out in Fishers, he wasn't pulled over. He just had the cops called on him, and he was just out there just looking at a house, talking to the owner and things like that, sitting in his car, making a phone call, and basically had the cops called on him by a neighbor. So that stuff, it does happen, and it is going on in our city, and it's crazy, and I know. I'm a white male. I don't understand kind of the full extent of what everybody goes through. But I think, just looking at, like I said, I don't want to get political. I don't want to get on any of that stuff right now. But I think when we're talking about just the investments here in Indianapolis of what's going on, I think it just comes back to, like I said, that golden rule, making sure that, no matter who they are, your tenants are being taken care of. They feel like they're safe. They feel like they're doing okay. Your contractors, anybody that you have working with you or working for you, that it's everybody's taken care of and everybody feels safe. That's the main thing. So Brett, just anything that you want to touch base on just this topic and kind of what's going on in Indianapolis right now?
Yeah. I mean, it's just a crazy time. Obviously, we for everybody and what we're kind of going through, and everyone is just cooped up, and there's a lot of anger, and I get it. There's a lot of different injustice going on right now, and I get there's also a place for protests and peaceful protests, and I could definitely be a part of standing up for what's right, and I think that a lot of people do want to do that, and they have a good heart with that about standing up for what is right. But of course, when there's good people with good intentions, it also gives kind of an avenue for some anarchy and people that, have an excuse to be an anarchist. And that's kind of what's been going on. So just continue to pray for the people that are really, dealing with a lot of these things, and the small businesses too, and the people that aren't getting treated fairly. Just pray for everybody that we can all unite during this time and handle it appropriately. And so hopefully the worst is behind us. We can kind of move forward. We keep getting punched in the face a little bit from the COVID to another protest, and just continue praying for our city and the nation, because I think obviously it's going on everywhere.
Yeah. So definitely understand kind of where, where the protests are coming from and just the heart behind all that stuff. And it's been really cool to kind of see some of the groups and even some of the investment groups and some of the volunteer groups that are out there helping clean up the city right now. And, coming together is, working with the protesters, working with the police on the governor's lawn and things like that. It was a cool moment. So there's some good stuff happening in Indy as well, which is really great. So kind of getting into more of the real estate stuff now, kind of how this is affecting everything that's going on, is just affecting our city. I know I just got an email yesterday from our lawyer. We've had an eviction going on for before COVID even happened, and it was even a long time coming at that point, and now it's just even stretched out even longer. But I just got an email from our attorney yesterday, and it sounds like that basically evictions have been pushed back another month, and we can't file any paperwork, can't do anything basically until like mid-July right now. So we were supposed to have a hearing. I know back in May they did some hearings virtually, which was great, and it was in Warren Township. That happened. I wasn't sure what all the other townships were kind of doing. Every township was a little different. Every judge was a little different about the way they were handling things. But in Warren Township, we had a virtual hearing. It basically got extended. It was supposed to have a hearing on June 9th. That now got pushed back into July. So it seems like it's just everything with evictions, everything with some of the tenant stuff that's going on, just continually gets pushed back. And I understand. This all comes down to of like really when we look at stuff that the tenants are going through and everything that's going on. It's a tough spot, and there were some times where we've granted grace periods. We've helped tenants out with certain things that they need. But then like something like this where we have an eviction that was like in the court system before any of this happened, and it's still going on. It continually gets pushed back now. So even kind of just working with that tenant and being cordial with them is tough as well. But those are the things that make sure that you're just touching base with your with your property managers, with your lawyers, and making sure that, hey, can I go ahead and can I send this note now, and those types of things, just to make sure that at least the tenants are informed of what's going on. Like, hey, I understand like this is the court system is being pushed back, but yes, you need to make some kind of an effort to pay rent or whatever it may be. But yes, the eviction process is still going to happen. You just, if you make some effort now, maybe we can do something in the future. So those are the types of conversations that hopefully you're having right now. We've kind of gone the route too of, we know that the eviction process is going to get extended, it's going to get pushed out and everything like that. So we've actually kind of gone the route of, hey, if we're having an issue with a tenant, or if the tenant, just something's going on, we're looking at doing some cash for keys type things as well. So if we know that, hey, we're going to have to pay, $600 to $1,000 for an eviction, can we just offer, $750 to do cash for keys and have them out, this month versus, 3 months from now or whatever it may be. So those are some options that I think are always good and always able to put out there. And, or, hey, we can help you find another place to live, or we can help you move if that's the case. I know we had a situation where a tenant, they knew they weren't going to be able to afford their house, so they needed to move in as family, and that's fine. We helped them out, gave them some money to help them move and help them out with that transition. So there's a lot of things out there. It all comes down to a problem solving thing of just helping people out, working with some other people. So the tenants, that's what it comes down to, is making sure that they're taken care of. They understand what's going on there, and the main thing I've come to realize is that they just need to be informed. They don't understand really what's going on either. They've been misinformed or something like that. I mean, we had one tenant that basically said, "Oh, we don't have to pay rent for 4 months." Isn't that what the the order said? Like, no, not at all. But once we explained it to them and kind of what that really meant, they were like, "Oh, yeah, okay, we understand now." So sometimes it's just misinformation, and we could have been upset with them and hard feelings towards them because they didn't think they were going to have to pay, and they were in that mindset. But just explain it to them really help them out. So making sure you're working with your property managers on that stuff, and just going through the steps and making sure they have the right communication is really key there. So Brett, anything that you want to add on with the evictions and stuff, man?
Yeah, I think just communication is the key, and just being informed as a landlord. The things are constantly changing in a lot of different things, So as a small business owner, entrepreneur, things are changing with the government. These different programs coming out, and as far as evictions go, they keep extending things. And I would just say, keep informed on what's going on. If you have an eviction attorney, communicating with them, communicating with your tenants, and like you said, just giving them information, educating them, because there's so many different things out there right now that you just have to stay on top of it. I guess every week it's a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely 100%. I think kind of going in line just with the same stuff is with the evictions being pushed back and everything as well. It's the same thing for foreclosures. So people have not been able to foreclose on anybody that hasn't been making payments and things like that. It keeps getting pushed back as well. So I feel like what we're seeing, and this is kind of a national thing as well. Talking to some other guys from around the nation, they're going through the same issue, and we're kind of seeing it here in Indianapolis as well, of where basically when it comes to it comes down to like inventory is low, I think, of what people are of seller people that are selling their properties, or people like us that usually have like 30 to 40 properties at any given time to be able to sell. Inventory is just kind of low across the board, but I think it translates just into the fact that the foreclosure process is continually being pushed back. So we have homeowners right now that they know they're in trouble. They know that they're not going to be able to afford their house, or they're going to be going through that pre-foreclosure process or foreclosure process or whatever it may be. But they're just kind of like realizing, hey, well, I'm gonna be able to get a couple extra months out of this without paying my mortgage or whatever it may be. And so I think that's one of the things that we're seeing, and why the inventory is maybe so low of properties that are available. There are some sellers that are still willing to sell, that still want to sell. They're being proactive about it, or there's in a money situation, so they need to move somewhere else. So there are properties available, but I don't see the inventory kind of coming across of what people are used to seeing as far as sellers out there of properties that are being available. So that kind of what that translates to is like buying. As we kind of went into this, we were all kind of like, oh man, we need to like shore up our buying process, our dispo process, our sales process, because we're like, buyers are going to be really hard to find. It's actually right now we're in that kind of a little bit of phase where it's a little funky. Like buyers are snatching up everything. So buyers are getting pretty competitive because they're seeing that inventory is pretty low. And like I said, this is kind of a national thing, not just an Indianapolis thing. But we're definitely seeing it here in Indy, where that inventory is a little low of what properties that are available. So buyers are buying a lot of stuff. Buyers are being pretty competitive. So if you're in a spot where you're looking for a property and you know what you want, and you're kind of in that process of like, I think I'm going to wait, until maybe I'm going to wait till I get the right price, or the price drops, because, we're going through this, there's a recession kind of thing. So the prices are going to drop. That's not happening right now. We're selling stuff at what we were before this. We took a little bit of a dip in the middle of it, where we were selling stuff a little bit lower, but honestly, right now things are selling for what we're pricing them at, and what the prices were like in January and February before all this happened. So, Brett, what are you kind of seeing on that end of kind of what you see as far as low inventory, and just kind of that we're in a situation where buying is getting a little bit competitive now, a little bit more than usual, because that inventory is so low on what people have that they're selling?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely interesting. Like you said, Brian, we thought that, hey, there's going to be a lot of motivation out there. We're going to be able to snatch up deals, and it's going to be harder to sell properties to investors. But like I said, it's kind of the opposite right now. Our inventory is probably the lowest it's been in since I can kind of remember, honestly. So it's just kind of uh, again, it's an interesting time. I think that opportunity's coming, but like you said, there's kind of this gap period, and that's the thing about recessions and the economy taking a dip. There's always this kind of gap of uncertainty, and I feel like we're really still kind of in that gap. People can't get foreclosed on. They have this gap that they know they can kind of not pay their bills and kind of get away with it right now. But the time is coming where that's going to catch up with all of us. So again, getting educated that if a lot of people, even investors, they have this forbearance going on, that they don't have to pay their mortgage payments. And again, just make sure you're educated on that, because that's going to catch up at the end of the day, and you're going to have to pay that back, right? So once that happens, there is going to be opportunity. But right now, yeah, we're just in this kind of gap of low inventory right now. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So, and what that kind of means for a lot of you guys out there, if you are somebody that is buying like direct from seller, or you're working with your realtor on finding properties and stuff like that, make sure that I would definitely 100% be going through a phase right now of your follow-up system is shored up, because all these people that you might be talking to right now, all these sellers, or people that are even maybe are thinking about putting their house on the market, whatever it may be, all these people that are kind of in that, I'm going to sell, but not quite yet. it's going to hit where they're going to need to sell, and it's not necessarily big floodgates or anything like that, but you're going to see this transition of like all of a sudden, like all these people need to sell, and there's going to be the inventory is going to go back up. So just make sure those follow-up systems are kind of in place, because right now the people that you're talking to that are on the fringe of selling, they're going to need to here later on. So they're going to need to get out of that situation. So you being able to problem solve with them and following up with them is going to be key. So make sure you can do that. So Brett, let me kind of turn the tables to a little bit more of kind of your wheelhouse, kind of like what you're handling for us and some things that you're doing as far as our team. And we have a little bit more expertise than I do, but on the note investing side. So we're kind of talking about, maybe inventory of houses being low if you're looking for rental properties or flip properties, something like that. But if you like a little bit more passive thing, there's actually a lot of, some notes that are available, and note investing might be a good option for people as well of stuff that they can be picking up. Let's just kind of open it up to you of like just why you see note investing. And then we've done a couple, I know you just had a pod with Justin Bogart, I think last week that went live. Great episode there, but let's kind of just give it a brief little recap of how note investing is a good option here in Indy.
Yeah. So we put an option out there a few years ago that we could owner finance or seller finance our homes. And that's become very, very attractive here lately with the hard money lenders drying up. And, typically we might sell 80% of our properties cash and 20% we might sell with seller financing. Well, April and May, it's been kind of 50-50, honestly, with selling a lot more properties with owner financing. So that's become very attractive for us. And if you are an investor and you can have that option to seller finance your properties, that's a great option. If you have a good system, it takes a good system to prepare for that, which we've been tweaking our system here. But cash kind of got crunched a little bit for us. So we decided to sell off some of our notes. So we put quite a few together. There was over 20 notes that we actually put out there for sale. And I think we sold like 85% of those. So it's become very attractive. And I think that also people are looking for alternative ways to make passive income. And with this whole tenant issue and eviction issue, and you can't, the headaches that are, coming in with all the tenants and the evictions, that note investing actually has become, it's always been attractive, but it's become more attractive on that end because, you don't have to deal with some of the headaches with tenants. So I like note investing. I like owning notes. And like you said, we did a podcast with Justin Bogart, and you really have to educate yourself on what that is. A lot of people don't know what note investing is, but the best way I can explain it is you're really just the bank, and you don't have to deal with some of the headaches with maintenance issues and, the city coming after you for fines or evictions or any of that stuff. It's really just you're the bank. So we have some more notes available that we're going to be selling, and not like we had before because we sold off quite a few. But each month we're going to, like I said, we're creating some more of these, so we're going to have some more to sell. But I think it's a great way if you're listening to this and you want passive income, is to look at note investing and diversifying your portfolio. I think it's great to have some tenant occupied properties, some notes, some flips, active income and passive. I just think it's a great thing that you can add to your investments.
Yeah, I kind of see it just being, people are talking about notes a little bit more, and people are just kind of putting it out there. And I think it's kind of this wave of even just like, I used to be going into the classroom every day, and I had to go to work and things like that. Now my job is like, no, I stay at home and I'm on the computer and I drive around and things like that. I think it's kind of, one of those things with note investing too, of like people are used to they're kind of, being a little bit more active, even though they consider it passive with, having tenants and having rentals and things like that. This is just even a little bit, more just like that of like, hey, I can just, it's on paper. That's all. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to deal with any tenants. I don't have to do anything like that. So I know note investing is a little bit more attractive just for people like that even want to be a little bit more passive than what they even were, even if they were having their property manager do everything. Like you said, you're the bank.
Here's a quick example of, so I was talking to a gentleman who bought quite a few notes from us, bought a package from us, and he is a landlord. He used to buy properties from me 10 years ago, and he's been a landlord, owned 10 occupied properties for a long time. And since all this happened, he said, I want to buy a big package of these notes from you. I'm tired of all the stress. And that's, so sometimes you think that it can be passive income owning 10 occupied properties, but there is some activity that you have to do and to keep everything maintained. So, and his idea was to be, I call it more extreme passive. So notes extreme passive instead of, sort of passive with tenant occupied properties.
Yeah. Here's one of my favorite things I love about notes is, especially when you're going through things like this and you have somebody that maybe be like, hey, I can't make my payment on my note and mortgage, for the next 3 months, or I'm having trouble or thing like that. You're the bank. You know what you can say is like, hey, let's renegotiate. Let's refinance it. That's just more
Yeah.
interest in your pocket. Like that's, so you're always able to do those options. And talking to like some big note investors like, Eddie Speed, Mike Jake, everything's negotiable. You can go through, you can refinance all this stuff and really just put more money in your pocket and things like that, which is pretty cool. So definitely something to check into. And that's the episode with Justin Bogart was episode 24 on the Indy Pod if you want to check that out. And Justin Bogart, he's with Bright Path Notes too. If you want to reach out to him, just got some of his information he has about notes and stuff as well. So something else too that we can kind of talk about, kind of going in that same thing of lending and financing has been a little tricky through this period as well. I've talked to a couple hard money lenders over the last couple of weeks, and things are starting to kind of come back around. They're lending. I know I talked to Cherie Hansel from Longhorn the other day, and we were doing a deal with them. They're looking pretty good. They just had to tweak one of their things. That kind of their numbers came down a little bit. But so hard money is starting to open back up a little bit. But if you're still in that position of like you're having trouble with lending, always ask about owner financing. If you're buying a property, see if it's something that either the seller or the wholesaler, maybe you can work out a deal, whoever it is owner financing an option for you? I think it's a great option, especially if you're flipping a property, to be able to owner finance it and then put a certain amount of money down and then be able to basically flip that property and then pay it off after you flip it and everything like that. So I think it's a great option, and it allows you just a little bit more flexibility. But like we were saying with notes, everything's kind of negotiable. Everything, you're able to talk about everything. Owner finance is kind of the same thing too. I think it's always a great thing to ask about that. And, Brett, kind of this is something that we started doing. We started offering our properties on owner financing for the most part. Like maybe 95% of our properties are available for this, and we kind of started off doing it as a way maybe to kind of help us sell properties a little bit more. But what we realized is like, man, this is a great option for investors and for even in some of our situations, even homeowners and things like that too. But investors is a great option for them. And we're kind of like, man, we need to talk about this a little bit more, because this just helps out us sell properties, but helps our investors out as well. So what do you think about that, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a great option if you can do that. Obviously, it's very attractive for investors and even homeowners that, let's say you're selling a $60,000 property and someone doesn't have $60,000, but they have $20,000, which is a great down payment, which that's kind of an example of the notes that we sell and create. It's very attractive. So when I look at a property and it has the words seller financing available, $20,000 down, it just really piques my interest, because again, it's, I don't have to go through the hard money and jump through hoops or private money. A lot of times it's actually cheaper, because if you go through hard money, you have these document fees plus appraisal fees plus the hoops and the documentation and the financial documentation you got to give to them, and it's just kind of a nightmare. So you have to do a lot of that with seller financing, but you don't have to jump through as many hoops. It can be cheaper. You don't have all the appraisal fees to kind of go through. So I just think it's a great option. It can be a win-win. It can be a win-win for you as the seller, because you create something that's passive, and it can be a great option for the buyer, as they don't have to have all their money tied up, and they can use, their extra money for the rehab and whatever. So I think it's just a great option that we've been able to do and utilize. And I think that can also separate you from the herd, and that's something that I don't see a lot of people doing. And again, it's just kind of that separation of what separates us from some of the other people out there, that we have that option.
Yeah, definitely. So one other thing I want to kind of talk about here real quick, just as we're running out a little bit of time, but just before we wrap up, one other thing I saw this week, the National Mortgage News put out an article about the top 12 U.S. markets that it's better to buy than rent. And they're talking about, the bigger markets and stuff. Like, they look at like the top 100 markets when they do some polls like this, and Indianapolis was number one. So basically, Indianapolis ranked number one for markets that it's better to buy than to rent. So it literally, people move here because it's so much cheaper to. I mean, I have my sister-in-law and my in-laws live out around Boston. I'm like, you guys need to move back to Indy because it's so much cheaper. As my sister-in-law is looking for a property out there, like it's crazy what you can get out there for the same amount of money. What you get here is insane. So we know it's a great market to buy and things like that. But that is it better to buy than it is to rent? When you look at Indianapolis, it's 50-50 on people that rent versus people that buy. The reason that is people, it might be a great market to buy, but unfortunately there's a lot of people here in Indianapolis that can't qualify for a mortgage. They have great money coming in. They can make, maybe they're an entrepreneur. Maybe they have a side contracting job that they don't necessarily qualify for that traditional mortgage, but they have money that they can, pay good money for a rental property, do some owner financing things, you can sell it to them on a mortgage. So it is a great property or a great city for people to get a mortgage and to buy, because it's relatively inexpensive compared to a lot of other cities. For what you get, it's definitely affordable for what you're getting in some of these neighborhoods where you get, an awesome house in one of the best neighborhoods, like in Carmel. You can't, even for that price, you can't touch another property in like, the Bay Area or anything like that for that same price. So I thought it was just worth mentioning that, Indy it's known as a great market to be able to buy properties, but we still have so many renters here. And the reason that is because they necessarily can't get a traditional mortgage. So we have a ton of people that are making good money that are doing really well, but they can pay rent what you need to. So that's why it's one of my favorite markets when it comes to investing. I'm a little bit biased because I do live here and this is where I invest and stuff. But just as you're looking to invest in Indy and stuff like that, I think this is just kind of sums up why Indy is such a great market to invest and stuff. So, Brett, real quick, do you have any just kind of notes or thoughts on that? I don't know if you even saw that article or anything, but.
Yeah, I definitely went through that. It's just very interesting. Again, it's just a celebration of our city, and talking to it's just a great place to invest. It's a great place to live, great place to invest too. And I think it just gives you a lot of options, and you got certain areas that are great flip areas. You do have some areas that are appreciating. You have some areas in the surrounding counties that have been voted the best places to live in America. You can rent properties, you can sell properties with seller financing. It's affordable. You don't have to put all your money in one project. You can spread it around. I just think it's a great place, and just great opportunities. So love it.
Yeah. So, all right, as we kind of wrap up here real quick, I just want to remind everybody, definitely check out any of our past episodes if you have not listened to them. There's some good stuff in there. There's some stuff on notes. We've talked to some property managers. We've talked to some title companies. We've done like a little series on just some of the neighborhoods here in Indianapolis that we will be breaking down even further and further episodes and stuff like that. So definitely check out any past episodes if you want to catch up on kind of what's going on here in Indianapolis. And just another thing too, if you have any ideas of things that you want us to cover, things you want us to go over, things you want to know about Indianapolis and the real estate investing world here in Indy, definitely reach out to me at brian@simplewholesaling.com. I'd love to hear your suggestions. I'd love to hear what you would like us to cover. I think some of our best shows that we've done come from suggestions from people that are investors here in Indianapolis and want us to kind of, hey, can you handle this? Or can you do a list? Can you do a top 10 list on this or top 5 list on this? This is stuff that we want to hear from you. So let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to hit up. But we want to do this show for you. We want to make sure we're helping you out in any way and bringing you value for your real estate dollars. So that's what it all comes down to. So Brett, any last words as we jump out of here today?
No, man, I just think you're doing an amazing job, and I'm proud of the team, and I'm proud of the guests that we've had on, and just really talking about Indianapolis investing and getting the word out and the value that we're talking about Indianapolis investors. And we've had a lot of great feedback, so thank you guys for tuning in and watching the show, and just hope that we can bring as much value as we can. So appreciate it.
Awesome. All right. And these episodes come out every Monday and Thursday. And for this, it's a wrap for episode 26. We'll see you guys later on.